Alright folks, welcome to game number 2 in the Australian AoE4 Championship 2022. So we've got Hut facing off against Nunu. Game number 2 in the best of 3. With Hut having taken game number 1, with Nunu tapping out relatively quickly. Basically being sort of caught out of position with a small pocket of units, but not even taking the fight, just tapping out. Hut only having had a knight on the field as Rus up against Nunu's English, and a handful of archers up against bowmen. So interesting to see Nunu decide to go to game number 2 so quickly. And so Hut here in the blue trunks on the Mongols, and Nunu in the pink trunks on the French.
Quad.
Ger scouting is just really something else, isn't it? And the funny thing is you actually got to unpack them to convert the sheep and then repack. So it's a bit of a clunky scouting mechanism, but it does work. And so Nunu, looks like Nunu's only going for the one scout, which for French, I mean, it's a big call because they probably are the most limited early game eco in terms of the food. You really don't want to be caught with running out of food. I mean, Rus is probably the other civ, because I mean they're both the knight civs, and Rus is the food gathering civ out of hunting and herding, but you know, they're going to always have 2 if not 3 scouts, but only 1 scout for French, man. It is a bit of a risk. I mean, it does put you ahead economically over people that are going up to 2 scouts. And I mean, Hut is only on 1 scout as well, but the Khan is an improved scout that does have a movement speed buff. And the Ger these days, you know, you get 1 for free that you can just use to pack, unpack, scout out around your base, get those easy, safe sheep back at home. So School of Cav on the way for Nunu. Well, Hut got the barracks, double producing spearmen at the moment, sending over a villager. So this will hit after the French players actually got the age 2, and will possibly have the gold for the first night. But in saying that, once your opponent's got the spears, ooh, Hut killing a sheep there when he's actually had the much closer scout to it. But I suppose the mindset of that is that if you're willing to risk losing the scout, you don't want to just throw away the sheep. So I guess you might as well just kill the sheep. And so Hut's going to move in to the rear side and deny Nunu the opportunity to go for stone or wood here. I don't know if Nunu's actually seen any of this. No. So Nunu's unaware of this, I think. And considering the Khan's attacking the gold, yeah, and now there's some spears there for Hut as well, Nunu's probably going to really just ignore this left side for the moment until the tower is safely up. So the first knight's going to come out, but it is really hard to make use of a knight in this situation, and if you lose them, that's a lot of resources down the drain. But I mean, Nunu does have the range on the way as well, and I suppose if the knight really just parks under the TC or just tries to go for the hit on the villager, it may be worthwhile. But Hut is phenomenal with his micro. It's going to be tough for Nunu to find that opportunity, I think. So Nunu's having to try and distance gather. I wonder if Nunu was best off maybe trying to just rally to this lumber camp here because it's a little bit close. I mean, to these trees, then back onto the lumber camp because it's a little bit closer than this walking distance here. Oh, and Hut, if he gets this burn off, it'll really be worthwhile in terms of value for him. At the same time, Nunu trying to take the fight. Unupgraded spearmen aren't going to fare so well against a Raw Knight. But in saying that, ooh, it's going to be close. So Nunu saved the Knight, and it can always be healed up with Chivalry, but it is a bit of an investment to make. So for now, Nunu's going to have to try and find a way out of this, while Hut getting Deer Stones, Age up on the way, getting a lot of gold, possibly looking for that quick castle age. So the villagers being focused down? Yeah, villagers being focused down by Hut. Which is always a good idea if the scouts come into the tower first. You don't want to make sure that the tower's just focusing them. Unless, you know, they've already gotten one really low. You're really best off trying to snipe the villagers with it. So Nunu, some good micro there. The scouts, they do regenerate as well. The range is finished up for our French player. Nunu has shaken off Hut's initial tower harass, but Hut getting the upgrade to hardened spears and wheelbarrow at the moment. It's always so cool, the little tracks that appear around buildings. And if you notice, the other civs, with their more contemporary structures, they generate like these little fields and stuff. I suppose that's all supposed to be like tracks from the horses and from pulling carts and shit. Sorry. Hut banking a lot of wood at the moment. Trying to go for that second town centre. Or Nunu. Creeping forward. Skur's coming forward for some reason. Improved survival techniques. What's the upgraded version for that insane gathering steroid? He's willing to sacrifice the Ovu for it. So Nunu's going to be able to take out the Ovu. But this gives Hut the time to actually establish the second TC. And if this all goes up, I think his eco is going to be in a great spot. Because Nunu hasn't actually gone back on stone gathering to try and get a second town centre out. It's floating a little bit of food at the moment. So I think the eco game's just hurting Nunu slightly here. So there's a little bit too much food, not enough gold or wood in the bank to actually, you know. Yep. So another knight, yeah, and there we go, a bowman. But there was a bit of a brief moment there where they weren't in queue because there wasn't enough wood or gold. Hut's eco has been pretty much flawless. He's really gathering a lot of gold now because I think he might want to go to a quick age 3 perhaps. He's going for a pasture. Now right next to those deer stones. And he's still just trolling around the map. But Hut is safe over this side. I don't know if Nunu knows about this yet. Got blacksmith on the way for Nunu. But I do think Nunu might be best off trying to go for that second town centre. Nunu is still floating a little bit of food, so Nunu could always just pull 3 or 4 villagers onto the wood or the stone. And then just always catch back up on the food eco, play it as a bit of a deficit just to bleed the food out and, you know, gather other resources. Even though you do incur the cost of walk time, you do get the benefit of actually being able to free up the resources. Unless you're desperately trying to save for age 3, which at this stage I don't think Nunu is. So an Ovu being thrown down on this other stone mine, but Nunu's figured out that it's likely to be the one that Hutt wants to go for, so. But at the same time, taking these out, it's not a huge blow to Hutt. It's only 150 wood. I mean, it is reasonably expensive, but it's giving him the time to take advantage of the fact that he has snuck in a second town centre over his French opponent. So Nunu continuing to add more and more production, but Hutt's now going to be able to go for Castle Age and sneak out a mix of man-at-arms and upgraded spearmen, and that alone will be enough to hold on until he can field really juicy Castle Age units like crossbows or veteran Mangudai or knights, sorry, lancers. So Nunu right now is needing to play a little bit of catch up, continuing to add more units, but investing in double range is going to leave you a little bit open to being collapsed on by a heavy unit comp. So Hutt adding ranges himself now to defend. So the step redoubt nearly finished, and Nunu in the meanwhile adding siege engineering, which is very smart. You can start really forcing Hutt to have to lift all the buildings up and pack them up and get them out. Otherwise, they're going to fall, and towers are really going to be of no threat to Nunu once there's a ram or two. At the same time, it's really only knights and scouts and bowmen at the moment here for Nunu. So Hutt, again, compositionally can really just race ahead quite quickly here with a mix of archers, crossbows, and man-at-arms. Possibly some of his own lancers. It'd be very hard for Nunu to try and stop. Because the archers, they'll be great against crossbows and other archers, and against spears, but against man-at-arms or against lancers or knights, just useless. It's smart of Hutt to go for the outpost first, before going for the resource. So now Nunu going to be able to add the rams, and like I said, these buildings of Hutt's are all going to have to be packed up and shifted if Nunu's able to keep a push going here. But again, I do worry a little bit about this composition here. The French comp is going to be good against the spears. But a mix of crossbows, bowmen, and man-at-arms, and I don't know if there's really a lot the French player can do. So a very nice push here for Nunu, but it's at 7 scouts. I mean, that could have been another couple of knights. So the archers making this very difficult for Hutt to engage here at first, because the spears are all going to fall quite quickly. Barracks has been taken out. Hutt not wanting to pack this up because he wants to actually get Steeled Arrow here, but at the same time, if he can keep the army of Nunu busy, he's going to get the tech. So Nunu's going with everything, throwing everything at this. 2 rams being used to try and take down the tower. The villagers focused down by the archers as well, but there's plenty of crossbows and a couple of spears here still. So I think the static defense is actually going to be enough. And GG. Hutt is our champion for the Australian AoE4 Championship 2022 Season 2.